what we're seeing with customers and what we're hearing from our broking partners is that they want more solutions from the insurance industry. And what we've tried to come up with here is a way of finding an easy trigger point to make sure that insurance policies are easy to access, but also a policy that's broad enough to cover the majority of any economy. And so what we did with InsureRate was to take a look at where's the protection gap in Hong Kong. And this really was a solution made in Hong Kong for Hong Kong, because we found the protection gap around typhoon warning signal system. And in Hong Kong, the typhoon warning signal system has a trigger point that generally results in businesses shutting down, which is a typhoon warning signal 8. At that point, businesses send people home, the government closes. We go into a lockdown mode to try and protect the physical assets, but also protect people's lives during that typhoon event. The more we looked into it, we discovered that the businesses during that time suffer a loss of revenue. There's loss of activity, right? The stock exchange closes, people no longer driving to work, people no longer consuming the lunch, people no longer transacting business. And those transaction costs have an economic activity contributor. And when you take that away, there's a loss. Our analysis showed that we had about a 4.29 billion Hong Kong dollar exposure. So we went about seeing whether we could find a trigger point that was related to the typhoon warning signal system, as opposed to a traditional parametric insurance cover that follows the actual storm track itself. Typhoon Hato yesterday was a good example of a typhoon that didn't actually cross Hong Kong territory. The eye of the storm made landfall in Zhuhai, not in Hong Kong, but the impact was felt here as well. And so what we did with InsureRate was to come up with a solution that was triggered by the typhoon warning signal system, and that signal level was signal 8. So we used an external data provider, which is the Hong Kong Observatory. We were able to get over 100 years of data from them on their system, understand how they work. The more we looked into it, the more analysis we did, we discovered that that was actually a very robust trigger point for an insurance policy. It was independent of the government, independent of business, and independent of us. So that became what we refer to as a trigger point. That was our parametric trigger point. So rather than relying on the physical damage to the business, we used the typhoon warning signal system as the trigger point. That allows business to access that payment much quicker. It's very easy to ascertain whether a signal system 8 has been raised or not. And then that provides a quicker, faster payout, and also doesn't need to result from a physical damage. So the claim payment there can actually come to cover the loss of revenue, the loss of profits from the business, and that doesn't necessarily have to be from any particular industry. So you could be a business that has no physical assets, a tech company, a financial services company that is operating on a transaction basis, but you're going to have a revenue loss. We can cover that revenue loss with a solution such as this without having to need to trigger a physical damage to your premises. At the moment, we have targeted InsureRate specifically for Hong Kong, but the methodology can be applied elsewhere. And I think as we saw in recent events, Macau is also exposed, Guangdong province is exposed, Taiwan, the Philippines, Vietnam. Many countries have similar exposure to a typhoon closing business, but there's also lots of other ways that businesses can be interrupted without necessarily suffering a physical damage, such as a fire or a flood. And I think the methodology that we've developed here will become a template for us to identify other opportunities in other markets. And it's been very interesting seeing the engagement level that we're having from brokers and customers, understanding their needs. They're coming to us now and say, well, I've got this other problem, can you help with that? And for us, obviously we're a diversified insurance company, we're a global insurance company, so that helps. We also have identified a number of key elements with InsureRate that we think will make it very, very appealing to a broad part of the economy, small, medium-sized enterprises all the way up to corporations. And with that, we'll get a diversification of exposure. And also too, because there's multiple storms, and there can be multiple storms any one year, some customers may not want to have just the first storm covered. They may prefer to have the second or the third or the fourth storm covered. And some may only be necessarily requiring coverage on a weekday. Some may prefer a cover on a weekend. So you can be a little bit more selective with how you actually apply these type of solutions to your business. So if you're a restaurant, for example, you're going to be more interested in having a typhoon cover in the lunchtime and the evenings. If you're a hotel, you may be more interested on weekdays for the business traveller. So it really is tailored. If you're a financial services company and you're trading on the stock exchange, you only need the cover for the weekdays. So there's lots of nuances there that can help diversify the portfolio, provide specific coverage to the individual companies, how they need it, and that also then creates an opportunity for us to write more business, because then we've got a very broad base from which to collect premium and pay claims.